Welcome to the American Ethanol Tours Championship Show, live from Carbon Green Bioenergy, featuring the 2018 American Ethanol Late Model Tour Champion, Brandon Thirlby.
Checkered flag in the air, winner of YellowHose.com 40 is Brandon Thirlby.
And 2018 American Ethanol Modified Tour Champion, Jacob Poole.
Side by side off the fourth turn, watch him at the stripe. Jacob Poole picks up the win.
With hosts Rich Frantz.
Eric Spangler in the 27, hanging on to that lead, but don't look now. Here comes the 87M of David Melke, the number 2 of Travis Demler.
And the voice of the American Ethanol Tours, Zach Heiser.
Welcome back to the American Ethanol Championship Show, live from Carbon Green Bioenergy in beautiful Lake Odessa. Usually when I come through Lake Odessa, it's dark, because I'm leaving a racetrack. So, Zach Heiser, Rich Frantz, and now Brandon Thirlby joins us on the American Ethanol Tours show. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you, seriously, for making the trip down. We really appreciate it. I know it was a long haul for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. You know, you guys called. You guys have done enough for us this year. It would have been disrespectful not to.
I appreciate it for sure. Talk about, let's get right into 2018 and the season that was, and ended up with you sporting the green spoiler for the second half of the year, and ended up in a championship. What's that mean to you to know that you're an American Ethanol Tours champion?
Well, it means a lot. I mean, like you guys have mentioned earlier before, we're definitely racing against not only the best in Michigan, but this last couple of years the best in the region, and last 3 years we've went after it, and this year we finally came out on top.
You start the season with, for the tour, some tracks right in a row that are new to the tour. Maybe not necessarily new to you as a driver, but what is that like when you're starting the season off with a tour at tracks that you've never been to before?
Yeah, we started off at Attica. We've been there a few times. I guess none of us have really been to Mount Pillier or Wilmot and all that, and then again Fremont with the weather. But no, it's like Jake said earlier, it's one of those deals where his stuff and my stuff, I think we're pretty sporty when we show up to the track right out of the box, and we're going to be competitive no matter what.
You know, Zach always gets to answer the smart questions, and I'm just here for the humor usually. So I talked to a lot of drivers throughout the summer, and most of them tell me if I could ever get qualifying down, we'd be all right. Well, you got the qualifying down, and if you could ever figure out the race and win in feature part, you might be a good race car driver someday, you know that?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword with our series. You know, some people love it, some people hate it, but when you set fast time, it inverts 4, so you're going to be starting, you know, second row outside, and Travis Stemler always joked with me every time, because if I didn't set fast time overall, I was usually fast in my group, and he said, you need to do what I do and let off, you know, right before the flag stand. Seemed like he was on the pole to heat race every time, but no, like I said, it's got its good and bad about, you know, qualifying fast time, but you know, I always just strive for that, and, you know, you get those bonus points. So.
Yep. And you got 3 career feature wins. You picked up 1 this season. Mm-hmm. But in your defense, the competition week in, week out is as stiff as anywhere in the region.
Yeah, not just on the tour, but on the season as a whole. As a bridesmaid 13 times this year, so that's second place, you know, so you just got to kind of get over that hump, and I think if Rusty Schlenk didn't show up at I-96, I'd have 10 feature wins this year. But
Now let's not throw too much of a pity party, because he is our champion. Ouch. And yeah, that was just for you. But seriously though, 1 win and a whole bunch of second place finishes and a championship. Obviously, you probably would rather those second place finishes be wins, but at the end of the year, you come home a champion. I mean, how do you decipher which you'd rather have? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not disappointed by any means, but just kind of, you know, looking at the stats at the end of the year and see all those second place, you know, the what ifs and what haves.
Sure.
But yeah, one of my boat racing friends' moms always said, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. I agree with that for sure. Looking forward to 2019, you've got the American Ethanol Championship in your back pocket now. Obviously, the forward question is, are you looking to defend in 2019?
Yeah, definitely. We'll be back. This is the best thing that's ever happened to, you know, Michigan late model racing, and I believe, you know, as long as I've been following it. So, yeah, we'll definitely be back.
You know, we talked a little bit. We kind of got rained on a little bit at Berlin. We were talking a little bit, but we know that you and your race teams had a rough past year with the passing of Dan Soleil. Mm-hmm. I was at the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club banquet with that nice honor and you guys came and accepted that on his behalf. Does that motivate you? I mean, it was a nice deal what you guys had at Berlin. You know, the balloons going. I mean, that's some really cool stuff. Obviously, you're keeping him with you throughout the whole season. But did that strive you to say, hey, we're gonna use him and kind of strive and do better things this year, and you end up with a championship out of it?
Yeah, we definitely, this year was for him. I actually had a guy, Todd. He'd been with Dan. Dan taught him everything he knew about racing this last couple of years, and that's what he told Todd is you need to learn from me. I won't be here. You need to So he ended up he lived in Muskegon, dropped everything he did, moved up to Traverse City, works in my machine shop during the day, and drives a truck and helps me on the race cars.
I just I look back at the 2018 season, and when we went on the road, there was one guy that was consistent. It didn't matter. I think of our trip to LaSalle and to Wilmot, and had it not been for honestly you and Travis were the ones that kind of kept the regulars in the top 5 that weekend. Everybody else kind of struggled. Was that a byproduct of having known the tracks, or I mean, what gave you guys, you specifically, the advantage to be able to do well there?
Well, I mean, I guess I've been to Wilmot once, versus 0 times. The other guys, I've been to LaSalle a handful of times, but I mean, our stuff. I mean, these guys talk about. Jake was talking about a lot of other guys. They're trying stuff. They're doing this, that, the other. I may have made 2 or 3 changes on the car all year.
Wow.
We just show up right out of the box, pretty consistent everywhere, and that's also a downfall some places. I probably should have changed a few things and maybe run a little bit better, but we're pretty confident in where our stuff is, and we show up and like you said earlier, you qualify good, you get to start towards the front, and that definitely helps.
But with those 2 races, I don't think Dennis Thirlby Jr. and Brian Shirley, there wasn't they were pretty much each night in a class by themselves, and Brian Shirley very easily could have won both races.
Yeah, I mean, you run into that in Illinois. I mean, you show up, not just for, a 4,000 to win, but, there's a 1,200 to win at Fairbury, Illinois, and you're racing against 4 or 5 guys that do it for a living. Where Brian and Dennis, I mean, they're great racers, but they're out there racing 80 times a year for the last 10 years, and you just can't put a price tag on seat time.
Talk about the one night that sticks out in my head is I-96, and I believe it was qualifying that you go out and hurt the engine, was probably where the initial hurt goes. You try to run the heat race, you have nothing. You pull in, you roll out the backup car. What a challenge that's got to be to go from your primary car that you've worked with through hot laps to get set up, and now you've got to roll a car out of the box that probably hasn't been on the racetrack in a couple of weeks, months maybe.
Yeah, it was definitely different, but I just can't thank everybody. I mean, I can't even name everybody. We had a horde of people over there, ripping shocks off the other car, putting it on, and just an adrenaline rush. I didn't stop until we were actually, rolling out there for it. So, just a huge thanks to everybody that stopped by and gave us a hand. But no, it's definitely difficult, but it was just one of those deals where you strap the helmet on and take off.
Just do it.
And when you're trying to close out a championship, the same thing happens at Berlin, where you damage the car and you have to pull the backup out, and that probably was a huge deal in helping you save this championship.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have that that backup just in case, and once again just everybody coming down and giving me a hand. I can't thank them enough.
And that backup car, right? That's a 2013. Is that correct?
No, that was
actually the one that you ended up with.
Yeah, there was another point where I brought up the backup car at I-96, and that is a 2013 when we were on the 3rd string car. But no, that was a 2018 Rocket, and I just kind of one of those deals where I'd run the other car already 40 nights, just got comfortable in the other one.
Sure.
And that's what that was.
It was so funny, not for you, but it was cinematic almost to walk down in the pits after the races at I-96, and there your car is up on stands with a tarp over it. Like, the engine's dead. It's a goner, and what a lot of work it's going to be, because now, right, you've got to get ready to race again that next weekend, where you still want to be prepared to have another car ready if you need one. You guys were probably making phone calls to get an engine ready as the night was over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we ended up Monday pulling it out, and we sent it over, and that's when we had to get the 13 car out. We let that set, and it only took a couple weeks and had that put back together and back in the car.
So obviously, win the championship 2018. Now what are you guys starting now? Obviously, you don't wait until February and say, okay, dust the cars off, put them in the trailer. We're going to go racing here pretty soon. What do you guys work on now throughout the winter? You get a couple new chassis, kind of make the 18s your backup car. How are you going to work that through the winter?
Well, unfortunately, that second to last night at Berlin, I basically, other than the frame and brake lines, I've got a brand new race car now. But so that car there, the motor's pretty well fresh in that one, and I don't know. I've got these rocket cars hold up so well anymore that that both cars are still in prime shape. I'm probably gonna try selling the 13 car and see what we get out of that, and I've got a couple motors for sale too, and I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right at this moment, but I know for sure we'll still have the 17 and 18.
So now, in the interest of being fair, because people will call us out and say, why didn't you ask him the same type of question you asked Jacob? UMP modified in your future? I mean, your brother's breaking out IMCA cars, so there's got to be room for you to get behind the wheel of a modified.
Well, my dad doesn't ask much of us, but he just asks that we don't race against each other. So we can pretty much do whatever the heck we want as far as going racing and all that. But no, that's the only rule. Him and his brother tried racing against each other in boats. It just didn't work out, and it just be one of those deals where him and I, something happens on the track, it's my fault, it's his fault. Where he doesn't want that bad blood. And the deal with Colin now, building chassis and stuff like that, I may try getting in one of his if he offers it. But,
sure.
But yeah, he's doing a heck of a job putting together cars and selling those too.
I was going to say, on kind of a side note, Merritt and Berlin, you get a chance to race kind of with your brother under the Ethanol banner. That's going to be a lot of fun for you guys.
Yeah, we try to. Colin and I both try to make it work. So say Colin has an Ethanol show, and it's just a regular late model show, I'll go to that show to make it easy on my dad so we can watch both of us.
Okay,
and
cool.
People always ask me, well, why didn't you go here? Why didn't you go there? Well, Colin's racing here, and it's vice versa. Whenever we have a bigger show for late models and they have mods, he'll come race with me.
So poor Colin, as long as you're running UMP late models, he doesn't get to get in one then, right?
Yeah, we can. We just can't race against each other.
Which means no ethanol shows. Yeah, so no.
Yeah.
Brandon, congratulations. And, just like what we said with Jacob, there's got to be a lot of people and a lot of things that go into this to get you guys to a championship at the end of the year. And let's be fair, not only in ethanol, but you have a track championship this year too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to our 80-plus employees busting their butts every day. We're a family-owned business, and without our employees, there's no way, we could do what we do. We don't people that have been with us for over 20 years, we treat people well. They work hard for us, and that's the biggest deal. I don't have a lot of sponsors. I've got a fuel sponsor, and I've got a rod end sponsor, and a couple here and there, but the employees and then all the guys that work on the car. I've got Todd and Big Show and Jesse, just everybody that helps. And then, my girlfriend Leah that, does everything in the world for me just so I can go racing.
And he says that because he's got a really long ride back up north with it, and she's down here. So, no, I know that you guys are a racing family, and it's always really nice to see you guys at the racetrack. So congratulations, and look forward to being able to present the award to you coming up in December.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're going to take a break, and Rich, I'm going to put you on the spot coming up after the break. We're going to kind of do a little 2019, what we hope to see, what we think we'll see. And that ought to be fun.
I can't wait.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll do that. You're listening to the American Ethanol Tours Championship Show, and it's in the Horsepower Happening slot right here on Motorsports Broadcasting of Michigan.
Thank you for listening to the American Ethanol Tours Championship Show, brought to you live on the Motorsports Broadcasting of Michigan Network. Be sure to find Horsepower Happenings every Monday night at 7 p.m. and enjoy on-demand access of shows on SoundCloud.com/Motorsports Broadcasting of Michigan.